My entitled mother is demanding that I schedule a C-section instead of giving a natural birth, so she and my dad can schedule a time specifically to see me and my daughter. And I'm honestly so upset and frustrated by their entitlement, as well as my entitled mother practically trying to push me in this direction when it comes to how I'm gonna give birth to my child. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I am due to have my first baby in just over 5 weeks' time. My pregnancy was a surprise, and it's been a difficult 8 months thus far. Although low risk, I've experienced every symptom you can imagine, from intense morning sickness to migraines and carpal tunnel syndrome. I've also faced some pretty intense discrimination at work, despite maintaining a high rate of performance throughout the entire year. All of this is to say that it's been a very rough year overall. I've had little support from my family this year, and their nonsense has seemingly known absolutely no bounds. Since around May, they've been asking my partner and I to make the 10-hour drive interstate for Christmas so that we could spend it with them. Now, this would be fine, but my doctor has repeatedly told me not to do this, as I will be 36 weeks along at that point, and I'll be prone to blood clots. Despite all of this, they've continued to pester my partner and myself about it. At one point, they proposed coming to see us for Christmas, but then swiftly shut down their own idea when they immediately realized that it would be an inconvenience for them. Recently, my dad was diagnosed with some health problems of his own, which he's been told is completely treatable with surgery and some medication. But regardless, I've called every other day to check up on him just to see how he's going. In the last few weeks, my mom has started telling me how awful birth was for her, as well as every other woman on both sides of my family. I kid you not, every time she calls, she encourages me to plan a C-section and then drops some new detail about a relative who had a traumatic birth experience of some kind. I have told her that her comments are unhelpful, and she has known for months that I don't want a C-section if I can help it. She constantly says things like, if I had my time again, I would plan a C-section, as if it's somehow an easier option. I wondered why she started down this path until she started making comments about Dad's treatment plan and appointments, where she would say stuff like, we might be able to make it out to see you for a few days in January, but Dad might have to go to an appointment on the 18th and then again on the 31st. And then after that, we can't visit for a while because Dad might need a surgery. I then snapped and told her that I would not and could not plan the birth of my child around their schedule, and that they should not bother coming. They haven't even asked my partner or myself if we even want extended family present directly after the birth, which guess what? We definitely don't. I was so scared about the birth and was starting to feel somewhat uncomfortable with the idea of it all when my mom started making these comments. Every time I've told her that I'm upset about their comments or their lack of normal, healthy support, my mom has told me that I'm just hormonal and that everybody else has their own thing going on. I'm just so sick of their garbage and I'm ready to cut them off for some time. I feel like they've made the birth of my little girl all about them. They've compared the potential surgery my dad might need to my birth, talking about catheters and IV drips, like how I won't need a similar setup, particularly if I go down the C-section route. When they did come to visit earlier in the year, they made comments about what I was eating. Mind you, I was 24 weeks pregnant at this point, and one of my supposed unhealthy options was a few chocolates after dinner. Now, I don't even know what to say or even what to do. All of this has made me reflect on my childhood, and I can't help but feel sad about that as well. I've spent the last few weeks just crying about it all, and I'm so tired of venting about it to my partner, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, it sounds like your mom and dad are being super toxic, because it really seems like they're trying to make you schedule this birth in a way that's more convenient for them instead of what's right for you and the baby. And that is just so crazy to me. Like, seriously, how self-centered and selfish can people possibly get? Let me try and spell this out basically. Your mom is only asking you to get a C-section so that she can schedule to see your baby when she wants to. She wants you to do it that way so it benefits her instead of this being better for you. And you know what? I'm willing to bet that any of these problems she's talked about in the past, where other mysterious women in your family have had trouble during birth, I bet you all of that's a lie. It really sounds like she made all of that up just to try and convince you in some kind of like roundabout way that scheduling a C-section is the only way to go about doing this. So I know if I was in your shoes, I would be telling your mom exactly how it is and state straight up that no, I'm not going to listen to what you have to say, but instead I'm going to listen to my doctor. Because in this case, that's the only only person you should be listening to when it comes to how you would like to give birth. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My girlfriend of 12 years was caught red-handed flirting with a coworker, and now after talking it over, we're going to try and make our relationship work a second time around. And I truly hope that this relationship is worth saving. Here's what happened. I'm a 25-year-old male, and I've been dating my girlfriend since middle school. We recently graduated from university, both with good career paths, and have been living together for 3 years. My girlfriend started working July of this year and had a fairly rough start. She became friends with this older guy by the name of William, who's been working there for 10 years, and they kind of hit it off as coworkers. William also is not his real name. They started texting each other a bit outside of work around September because he was having marriage problems and wanted someone to talk to. Now, I really did not mind it at first and thought that it was nice of my girlfriend to be supportive. But today, while trying to update a game on my girlfriend's computer so that we could try and play a game together, Messenger opened with a startup, and I couldn't help myself but to snoop just a little bit. Apparently, for the past few weeks, she's been flirting with him fairly explicitly. William even sent her a picture of his torso to show off his abs, and my girlfriend answered that she would jump on him the next time they saw each other at work. The vibe I got was that it was just banter, but it still had some inappropriate connotations. Well, when she got home from work today, I confronted her about it, and that's when she admitted that she has a crush on her coworker, but she never did anything physical. She never intended to and thought the flirting would just fizzle out after a bit. She told me that she's really sorry for what she did and that it was completely selfish of her to only think about herself during these events. Well, I felt deeply hurt by all of this, and I packed up my things. She tried really hard to stop me from leaving, but I just couldn't stay. I couldn't believe that she would disrespect the 12 years we've committed to each other, all so she could flirt with some married man who has a wife and a kid. It got really late and I had nowhere to go, so I booked a room in a hotel near work. I couldn't bring myself to go back home to my parents because I know they'll never let me see her ever again if I told them what happened. A part of me really wants to give her a second chance and meet with her tomorrow, but I don't know if I'll be going back to a relationship that's already been soured, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. Before we go any further, the original poster actually has an update to this story. Here's what they had to say. First of all, I want to thank everyone so much from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to respond to my original post and giving me advice. I honestly don't think I would have survived the weekend without you guys, and I think I owe everyone who took their time with me an update. So here's what's currently going on. Now, I don't think this is the choice that many of you think I should be making, and I don't know myself if I'm making a huge mistake, but this is what I've come to terms with. I'm going to give my girlfriend a chance to make things better, and we're going to try rebuilding things from scratch. I want to take some time together and get to know each other as if I'm getting to know this person for the first time, because she is clearly not the person I thought she was. If it works out over the next few months, then that's really great, but if not, then I'm fully ready to end things on good terms. After I left home on Thursday night, I stayed close to work over the weekend because I was working Saturday. I decided not to go home to my parents because I don't think it would have been a good environment to think about everything objectively and try and reflect on myself. I did spend some time with a few close friends, and they've been nothing but supportive. I owe them big time, and I'll have to take time to thank them properly when things get better. During the weekend, my girlfriend did reach out to me, but I decided not to answer back and really take some time before I said anything. On the first day after I left, I was mostly consumed by anger and frustration. I hated myself and my girlfriend. I hated the guy that she was talking to. I didn't know how I could possibly move past this. I even started having panic attacks. But on the second day, the anger kind of melted away and I was mostly just sad. I was disappointed that things turned out how they were, and I really experienced with every fiber of my being just how hurt I am. On the third day, surprisingly, I felt calm and somewhat came to terms with how things were. I tried to look at things as coldly, as objectively, and as honestly as I could. To my surprise, I did not feel for a second any relief for being away from the relationship, and I was actually thinking really hard about what could be done to make things work. I felt like I was in problem-solving mode rather than a vindictive mode, which really helped me realize I still care about her. I tried to make it as clear to myself as I could about how understanding I'm willing to be with my girlfriend and what I need for myself to be comfortable again in this relationship. relationship. I made a list, I talked to a few other people online who shared similar experiences, and I scrutinized myself with the pros and cons. I think, and I could be wrong here, that I might be sadder not being in this relationship than being in it while trying to cope with all of this, if that makes any sense. I finally decided to see her, talk to her, and see where it goes. I wanted to go into the meeting with no intentions of getting back together, just to give my girlfriend a chance to make things clear on what she thinks, what she wants, and what she's willing to do. And honestly, she pretty much said all the right things. During the time that we were apart, she had already quit her job. She says she's staying until the end of the month as a professional courtesy to her boss, but in the meantime, she has completely cut contact with William. She deleted her conversation with him and plans on blocking him once she can be sure that she won't be contacted anymore for work-related things. For the remaining time that she will be working, she will only be sharing about 3 hours a week of shift overlap with William. She made me believe that she was remorseful and very self-critical about what happened. I also brought up wanting her to come clean to the wife. She was reluctant a bit at first, but did not push back when I told her that I would think better of her if she did. She currently has no means of contacting the wife, but she told me that she will do everything she can to get it done. We talked for hours, we went to get some food, and we talked some more. Maybe I'm just really good at gaslighting myself, but I've become more and more understanding of what put her in the situation. By no means am I justifying that what she said and did was right. This still is the most painful thing I've ever experienced in my life, and I don't know if I will ever forgive her for this, but everything that led up to it made sense to me. Now, hear me out if this makes sense to you. First, we are the only romantic and love interest we've ever known growing up, and she has been more than good in this relationship up until this point. It is only normal for her to be a little more curious, right? I know I've thought about things too. I was just never stupid enough to act on it because I know the value of what I have. Secondly, her entire university and college experience was completely squandered by COVID, and she never made any friends in her field. She never went out to parties, she never hung out with her classmates, and she never even went to school for 3 of the years of her program. She was never a very social person, but she never had a chance to mature and discover herself socially. I was lucky enough to be in a program that was small and had to be present through COVID. I can tell just how much I've gained from my time at university. Lastly, I have to admit, I wasn't perfect in the past few months. When she started working, she was under a lot of stress, and to a certain extent, I wasn't as understanding and supportive as I should have been. I wasn't attentive to her needs. And on a completely side note that shouldn't even matter, I did put on some weight since I started working. At work, she thought she was making a friend in her field for the first time since she started working by talking to William. And when she told him about the stress she was going through, he was a lot more understanding of her situation than I was. I mean, I can honestly not blame her for feeling this way. Now, I don't do what she does for work, and I cannot claim to have done a good job of understanding what she goes through. She made it clear that she initially just wanted to make a friend, regardless of how clueless and naive it may sound. How things fell apart from there, she is aware was entirely her fault. It was all rooted in selfishness, and she was looking for self-validation and gratification. I definitely can't accept any excuse for that, and she couldn't come up with a more structured answer for now. She never did anything physical, and she would like to think that she would not have crossed that line if it got to that point. Whether that's true or not, we will unfortunately never know. But for now, I think I believe her enough to just sit on it. After our long discussion, she showed that she was supportive of me focusing more on myself moving forward, where she would have to put in effort to be the glue to hold us together and overall make things right. For the next few months, we are planning to take some time away from everybody else and just spend time together talking, going to therapy, and just figuring things out. I told her that I wanted the both of us to be as truthful as we could with each other, regardless of how much it might hurt the other person, because I want to know where the bottom is before attempting to rebuild anything at all. I am fully aware of how trying and painful the next few months or even years are going to be for me, and I honestly don't know if we'll make it past this, but I think she's shown enough for now for me to want to give it a try, and hopefully this all works out in the end. That's a crazy situation, and you're very brave for taking her back, because I know if that was me, there's no way I would be that forgiving. Like, the two of you must have a very good connection, otherwise I just don't know how this could possibly work out. But for the sake of your relationship and everything that you have planned, I really do wish the both of you the best, because I really think this is gonna take a lot of hard work, and it's going to take a lot of honesty from the both of you. Am I the jerk for having a private wedding and as a result, causing my mom to lose all of her friends in the process? Here's what happened. So me and my now husband wanted to have a small wedding that only consisted of our immediate family and best friends. Our wedding of 8 guests, including our parents, happened in my apartment living room just so we could save for a house in Europe. I made sure to keep my wedding a secret because I didn't want the stress of handling other people's reactions, since the usual wedding in my circle is extravagant. And when I say extravagant, I mean something that's on the roof of a skyscraper or at a high-end resort and hotel. Now, for a bit of background, I went to the same school from elementary school to high school, and the moms of our batch made a friend group and still socialize to this day. I didn't really keep it hidden from my mom that I was bullied by a great chunk of the batch for most of my years there, so my mom understands how I would prefer to keep the wedding very small instead of being selective and hurting someone's ego. In school, the people who openly bullied me stopped when one of them stood up for me in middle school. And ever since then, we became really good friends and she attended my wedding. 2 girls were transferred in after and didn't bully me and also became my best friends and were invited to my wedding as well. And I consider all 3 of them to be my maid of honor. Well, we finally posted the wedding and lunch party to social media, and my mom's group chat was filled with surprise. I was the first in my batch to get married, and sadly, there was less of a congratulations and more of angry people expressing betrayal because they were not informed about my engagement. They expressed that it wasn't congruent to their best friend getting married without getting invited or even informed at all. I felt confused by this because these people were neither my best friend nor was I best friends with their child in school. Nevertheless, I told my mom to use me as the excuse to dampen the fire, as I, the bride, wished for this secrecy and not my mom. But they instead insisted that it shouldn't have mattered because a mother's decision trumps a daughter's. After my mom's attempts to reassure them, they turned to painting me as the opportunistic narcissist who only cares for herself since I didn't inform them of my wedding, and for using my maid of honors for an extravagant wedding, which was far from the truth. A selective group of the parents in my mom's friend group started pitting fights between my maid of honors and myself by personally messaging my maid of honors. When that didn't work, they pitted my maid of honors moms to each other, which unfortunately somehow worked. My mom, being overwhelmed by all of this, blocked the people fanning the flames. They took this as evidence to show how the apple doesn't fall far from the tree and how easy it is for my mom to throw more than a decade of friendship down the drain. Since I moved to Europe with my husband, my mom is now isolated. My father's busy with work, and my brother is busy abroad studying. I feel awful when I video call her, and she seems depressed seeing her closest friends now scared to even reply to her chat. So honestly, I need to know, am I the jerk for having a private wedding and thus getting my mom shunned and outcasted by her friend group, all because I didn't want to inform or invite her friends to my wedding? What should I do? For starters, I don't think you're the jerk at all. Listen, this is your wedding. If you want it to be a private affair, then guess what? That's exactly what it's gonna be. And anybody who doesn't like that for some weird reason, those people can honestly get lost because they literally have no say in what you do or don't do for your wedding. Like, from the sounds of it, these people that are friends with your mom, they sound like the people who like to pretend to be your friend, but only when it benefits them or makes them look good. And I bet you they only wanted to be at the wedding or even just pretend to want to be at the wedding so they could either look good or, in this case, just try to make a big fuss about it. Like, I'm kind of convinced they're just perpetual complainers and they're using this as some kind of excuse to start drama. Because you said it best, you don't even like these people and all of their kids were awful to you besides like your 3 maid of honors. Like, why on earth would you want the moms of your bullies to show up to your wedding? I mean, if I got treated like that growing up, I probably would want something private as well. Like, there's no way I'm gonna be bullied all throughout my childhood and then be expected to play nice with these people when I finally have a say in what happens. So to that respect, I completely understand where you're coming from with having a private wedding. It really sounds like the people around your mom are not her friends, and their behavior is just further proof that they just don't care. And if anything, it proves that your childhood bullies learned this stuff from their moms in the first place. I mean, look at what they tried to do. They tried to pit you against your maid of honors. They tried to involve everybody else's moms. They seriously tried to rip you and your family apart, all because they were not invited to your wedding. So honestly, I don't think you're the jerk at all. And if anything, I'm just so glad that you had the wedding exactly the way you wanted. Because based on the way these people are acting towards you having a private wedding, I really think it was for the best that you decided to keep them out. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications to finish listening to all the stories? Check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.